This is a political wedge issue and an attempt to win a culture war. And they're doing that in a way that is harsh and cruel to a community of kids, especially. I'm like going to get emotional about this issue because it's horrible. But it's like kids who are bullied, and like all these leaders are taking steps to hurt them and hurt their lives and hurt their families. And you look at some of these laws in these states, and it is going after parents who are in loving relationships, who have kids. It's completely outrageous.
I think the press secretary should cry about the 62 million children that do not exist, that have been aborted because of Roe v. Wade, a heinous, heinous decision in this country that has exterminated about 1/5 of the United States population. So if you want to cry, don't cry about forcing sexuality on kindergartners. That is sick. Cry about the 62 million children who can't even go to kindergarten.
I think Kayleigh McEnany's missing where she might not look like the best person in that exchange. So Jen Psaki, current press secretary, soon to be on MSNBC, broke down a little bit on a podcast talking about the actual effects that many of this legislation that's anti-LGBTQ plus has on children that they're targeting. Because that's exactly what's happening. So of course, when you want to push back on that type of a point, you have to go straight to mischaracterizing what was said, and then also claiming that they're looking to sexualize children. Just make things up and go on as you go. But anyways, let's get into details of what happened, starting with what Jen Psaki was talking about. She was on a podcast called News, Not Noise. And she's known for her toughness in the briefing room, but she showed this emotional side when she did point out that she was breaking down. And the host was Jessica Yellen there. So analysts say that this wave of legislation that got to Jen Psaki there is prominently, and this also includes Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, and that attacks the teaching of LGBTQ plus issues. And they're looking to provoke gender grievance among voters ahead of this midterm election, as we've all seen, and as we also know is happening. Kayleigh McEnany wasn't done being angry about Jen Psaki caring about other human beings. She went on further because she was on the show Outnumbered, and she was talking about how she's an autocrat, because that makes sense. Watch.
Find a woman. I'm not a biologist. That seems to be a favorite of libs these days. She also was asked, is the mask mandate still in effect? To which she replied, I don't know. Okay, well, you're the press secretary. You know how government works. That's a snarky answer. The answer is we respect the opinions of the federal judiciary, including that of a federal judge in Florida, but that's not what she said. But I hope Jen Psaki at the podium today fights very hard against this ruling. I hope President Biden does. I hope they show the true autocrats they are, because that's exactly what they are.
Kayleigh McEnany lied so many times on camera on behalf of the Trump administration. I don't think she has much to say about how we need to respect the federal judiciary process. Also, your president regularly talked about judges to this day, talks about how they're not real judges. In specific, there was this one, I think it was this Latino judge where he said, oh, he can't really rule fairly because he's Latino, you know that, right? So when we're talking about judges and respecting judges, please stop there, because every time anyone mentions a judge, hey, let's talk about the one that just got confirmed to the Supreme Court. How are you gonna respect judges? Please stop, because no one actually believes that. But again, your supporters don't have to. They're just looking for something, some kind of fodder to argue with someone else over. So, yeah, the discussion has come down to, if you care about children that exist and are actually in schools and are being targeted by politicians who actually don't care about what's going on or know what's being taught or what's being discussed, then you're a bad person, you're an autocrat, and you're hateful, and you're coming after children. It's really weird how they flip that on its head.
Yeah, and it's such an old argument that we've heard from both the left and the right for so long. It's been played out so much. But I think this whole interaction specifically, especially whenever Kayleigh McEnany was bringing up the court decision to get rid of the mask mandates and how she wishes the Biden administration would fight back against them to show what kind of autocrats they are. It's all kind of interesting. It's all very deflective, and it's indicative of the fact that the Republican Party now has almost no platform to stand on, no actual platform, no actual policies. They've even removed themselves from doing public debates on for different congressional seats or whatever. The RNC just pulled out entirely. So they're kind of leaning into the fact that they don't have a platform, and they seem pretty comfortable that they don't need one, that their constituents or voters aren't gonna ask them for one. They voted for Trump. Trump didn't really have a platform in 2016, didn't have one in 2020. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter to them. It's all about, what is it, gender grievances that creating those kind of, false flags everywhere.
They're not hiding it at all. As we saw, Rick Scott came up with this plan talking about making sure Social Security gets cut and also that the middle class pays higher in taxes. That's the one time Mitch McConnell came out loudly and proudly talking about how, hey, we're not gonna talk about policy agendas. No, we don't do any of that with Republican Party. We don't want them to know what our positions are. We don't want them to know what we would legislate towards to screw over the people who are voting for us. We need to keep fighting these culture wars. And in fact, there's a Republican strategist who openly, loudly said, we need to not talk about any policies. We need to push this culture war thing because that's what's working. The work of the Republican Party was to cultivate enough people that they don't care about anything when it comes to legislation for their lives. It just has some more to do with fighting against the other side, the evil empire. Anything that they can claim someone else is doing with, of course, false narratives. It can't be based in reality because then if they ask the question, they'll find out what truth is and they have nothing else to stand on. That was the hard work of the Republican Party, making sure there's people that are not willing to listen to anything else but what they tell them to listen to. I guess it worked out for them because they appear to be steamrolling down this train towards those midterms.